Referral sources like to refer to thought leaders. They're trustworthy and they just know what they're doing. Everybody wants to be a thought leader, or lots of people want to be a thought leader, but how do you develop yourself as a thought leader? How do you develop your own thought leadership? Well, my guest today definitely qualifies as one. He's going to share his advice for us. I'm Carl White, principal at Mark Advisory Group, which is a healthcare marketing agency, and I'm also the host of Practice Care. And the mission for both is the same, and that's to help private practice owners stay private. Not only is that what they want, but care is just better. I mean, let's admit it. Care is better when it's just you and your provider sitting at the table and no one else is secretly whispering in the provider's ear what their own agenda is. Not a hospital, not a health system, not other owners in faraway lands, whatever they may be. If it's just you and your provider, care is better. And my guest today is Nicky Billou. Nicky has an impressive resume. He's worked with Olympic gold medalists Donovan Bailey and Mark McKoy. He's helped Theresa Dugwell set 3 ultra-distance athletic Guinness World Records. He's an ex-corporate executive, and he's become the trusted advisor to CEOs, entrepreneurs, and sales professionals for both their personal health and peak business performance. He's a best-selling author of 8 books, including Line Thinking, How Do You Think and Win Like a Champion? The Thought Leader's Journey, A Fable of Life. That's what we're going to be talking about today. The Power of Connecting, How to Activate Profitable Relationships by Serving Your Network, and How to Create $1 million a Year Income, the Priceless Guide for Insurance Agents, Professional Salespeople, and anyone with a big dream. And medical professionals listening to this, don't write this one off just because it doesn't sound like you. You're in there too. He's also the host of a top-rated podcast in the world on thought leadership. It's called The Thought Leader Revolution, and he's featured guests like Dr. Ken Blanchard, John Maxwell, and Jack Canfield. Nicky, you've got a lot going on. Thank you for carving out some time to come on Practice Care.
It's an honor to be here, Carl. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yes, I really, really appreciate it. Let's just jump right into it. First question. How can you position yourself as a branded thought leader so that referral sources refer to you, patients that you want come to you, all those good things come to you? How do you do it?
That is a fantastic question. And the best way to answer it is by drawing a sharp distinction between an expert and a thought leader.
Okay.
So a mentor of mine by the name of Matt Church once told me, Nicky, an expert is someone who knows something. I'm like, okay, that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. But a thought leader is someone who's known for knowing something. I'm like,
interesting.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah. And then I thought about that some more, and it just made sense. Experts are a dime a dozen, right? Yeah. Everybody and his brother's an expert these days, but thought leaders are rare and valuable. Even the term thought leader just has you sit up a little straighter and pay attention more while sitting at the edge of your seat, right? Another way to put it, David Meerman Scott, who is an advisor to Anthony Robbins, he was on my show, and this is how he put it. He said, an expert is like a cover band, right? But a thought leader composes and plays original music. And I was like, dang.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. And if you think about this, right, what is it that being a thought leader makes possible for you? Well, when you're a thought leader, right, you're someone who has taken the time to think through a set of issues that are relevant and germane to a particular audience or group of people who are suffering from a very particular problem. What is all business? All business is about solving problems for people for profit, but not just any old problems, but acute problems for amazing people at an awesome profit. AP cubed. Nicky Billou 7-figure AP cubed solution is all about you first understanding if you want to be a thought leader, you need to be thinking about how you can solve problems that groups of people have, problems that are acute, and that new thinking or maybe existing thinking applied in a new way can help create incredible solutions for. That is really what thought leadership's all about. Now, a lot of folks who teach authority marketing and personal branding say, all you got to do is position yourself as a thought leader. Well, that's true. You do need to position yourself as a thought leader. But if you don't actually have the chops, if you haven't done the work to think through issues, then you're just going to be selling sizzle and you're not going to be selling steak. You're going to be one of those charlatan marketers who sell sizzle all day long. So when people bite into it, they burn their lips but they don't bite into that juicy red meat, you know, medium rare strip loin steak, New York strip, baby, blackened on top, Chicago style. No, that's not possible if you haven't done the work to get your thought leadership out there. But the type of thing that we like to teach people to do is we like to have them take a deep dive, not only into their profession, but into their experience as a human being on this planet. Pull out all of the key things that have happened, that have taught them things, and then use those as the basis for creating thought leadership. It's different than thought followership, which a lot of people do. They go and they get degrees, they go follow the thoughts of others, and they say, look, I'm a thought leader because I said this. No, someone else said that a gazillion times ago, and a whole bunch of other people said that. If you want to be a thought leader, you got to take a deep dive into you. You got to pull those thoughts out of yourself, and you got to start applying them in such a fashion that it helps solve problems for the people you care to help the most.
So is it, just to kind of pull this a little bit apart, is it has to be first to the world, new and novel thinking, never been done before? Or is it, you just have to be... So last weekend I gave a presentation at a conference and we talked about branding for 2 slides. And I said, look, you have a clue if you've got a brand when the people you're targeting can say 2 things about you. 1, what you do is valuable. And 2, that valuable thing you do is different than how other people do it. And you got to have both, because if it's valuable, but everybody does it, well, you're in a sea of the same. And if it's different, but they don't value it, who cares? So you got to check both by, and there's more to it than that. But if you don't have those 2, and it can take a while. So was I onto something about thought leadership, or was I more in the...
For sure. But I just want to say it's very important that you've done the work to actually really have original thinking and original thought leadership. A lot of these charlatan marketers will just teach you to go say the right things and put it out there in front of people. That's not thought leadership.
Yeah.
Okay, that's charlatan marketing from my point of view, right? Thought leadership is you got to think things through. So I'll just, if you don't mind, I'm going to just show you something, okay? Just real briefly. Oops, I think it's over here. So this is one of the things, I learned how to do this from Matt Church, right? This here is a folder of what I call my expertise. This is about winning in high performance, okay? It's a subject that I've been acquainted with in my time here on this planet. And what I've done is I've created 56 discrete pieces of intellectual property, 56 of these wonderful pink colored sheets. Each of them talks about one thing I know to be true in the area of high performance and winning, with a deeper explanation, with case studies of people that I know and I've worked with a literature review of books and studies that have been done in this particular arena. There is a Venn diagram here where we go into the whole arena of how to explain this statement using a visual diagram. There is a metaphor which is up here as well, and behind that there's 7 different ways to state this so that you can say it in ways that land for different types of audiences. Okay, now I can also create this as part of a licensable program by coming up with 20 questions under each area. So if I've got 12 of these in a particular area with 20 questions, that's a licensable program that can be sold and delivered through other people. You follow me?
Yeah.
This is how we teach people to develop thought leadership. This can be the basis for folks developing talks, developing ongoing programs, workshops, a book, a podcast series, you name it. But this deep thinking that I've done can now be repurposed in a whole bunch of different ways that are both valuable to the audience, but also commercially valuable to me.
Right. Right. And a couple of good points in there. So for our listeners, what Nicky was showing is like a 2-sider, but don't take the briefness as anything mean that's light and fluffy. My big takeaway there is, it's going to take you a while to figure out, and deep thinking to figure out, hey, I have this idea. Is it really different than what's out there? Is it different enough than what's out there and valuable? Because there's a lot of ideas already out there. And so if you want to be a leader in some kind of thought, step 1 is it's got to be original to a degree, right? There's got to be something valuable about it that's original. So give yourself the time. I mean, I can tell you when I came up with practice care, I don't know, I wasn't thinking about it on the surface, but 5 years to come up with the idea. I knew I didn't want to do a marketing podcast because there's a trillion of them. I knew I wanted to do something different. I didn't know what it was. So it took a while to come up with something that I hope is different. My research said it was, at least rare. So if you're thinking about, I want to be a thought leader, give yourself the time to think about, what's really in your area, what's something that's rare and novel in some way. And there's the currency. The second part is, as far as charlatan marketers, yeah, before you go out and start promoting your new thought leadership idea, you've got to have the idea. You can't promote what's not there. I mean, you can for a while, but eventually it's going to fall flat. Totally going to fall flat. Did I catch all that right? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, what you said is 100% correct. I would say, if you want to make this commercial, i.e.,
Mhm.
if you want it to make money for you, you definitely want to aim your thought leadership at a particular set of problems. And your job should be, how do I solve these problems with my thought leadership?
Mhm.
Because my thought leadership solving these problems is what makes it valuable to people. Yeah, people are interested in new ideas and concepts, to be sure, right?
Mhm.
Like right now, this AI chat GPT is all the rage. People are really interested in it. They're going online, they're trying things. I've been doing it. I find it interesting. It's a little politically correct. They built that into AI, which is ridiculous.
Sure.
From my point of view, that it should not have opinions about that sort of thing. But it's interesting. But
Mhm.
you know what? Unless this can start solving real problems that real
Mhm.
people have, it'll only just be something that's interesting. It won't be something that people will use day in and day out.
Right.
You follow me? Now, I happen to believe there's all kinds of things you can use it for that are very valuable and do solve real problems. But if you're thinking about your own practice and
Mhm.
you're thinking, well, why do I want to be a thought leader? Well, number one is you want to stand out from the sea of sameness. As you put
Mhm.
it, Dr. Nito Kubain taught me that phrase, the sea of sameness.
Yeah.
And two is that you need to be all about solving problems for people. You
Mhm.
need to be about that. My father used to tell me, he was an entrepreneur and he worked in the medical industry. He actually helped equip hospitals in Iran. He would bring
Ah.
equipment and supplies and that sort of thing for hospitals. And he used to always come and say to me, son, you got to remember, life is about people. It's
Mhm.
not about money. It's not about numbers. It's about people. You got to be here to help people. That person sitting across from you, yeah, that's somebody's son, that's somebody's daughter, that's somebody's brother, that's somebody's sister, that's somebody's wife, that's somebody's husband.
Mhm.
That's somebody that somebody else relies on. That somebody is maybe a hero to somebody. That somebody has got dreams, hopes, aspirations, maybe some
Mhm.
fears, maybe some disappointments, maybe even someone like you disappointed them. So what you got to understand is that it's your job to come with a heart full of love, to want to make a difference for that person. And if you do that, then you've got the first secret to how to be a successful businessman, businesswoman. Down pat. Care about people.
Mhm. It's so true. And so, yeah, to bring it back to our audience, um, and just sort of the selfish, you want to be like the trusted referral source. Boy, if you've got some specific problem that you solve better than everybody else that matters to the person you would like to refer to you, to the practices, that's a big deal. It makes you very, very memorable, very trustworthy, and the types of things you want are going to come. Nikki, I imagine that this is a different thought than some, especially, I never thought about expert versus thought leader. It's so true. And I imagine that you're asking a number of people who say, I want to be a thought leader, to get out of their comfort zone. It's not a natural thought, to really do this kind of hard work, go out and tell other people about it. So how do you get people out of their comfort zone? I mean, on something like this or on anything.
Well, that's a really good question. But a comfort zone is where your dreams go to die.
I love that. So two quotables right here. Expert, what was it? The cover band versus I love that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
comfort zone is
The
where
expert's a
dreams go
cover
to
band. The thought
die.
leader plays original music, right? And comfort zone is where your dreams go to die. I mean, if you can be comfortable today, like you and I could do this interview, and then you could relax. You could kick your feet up. You could grab yourself a margarita. You could watch, binge watch Netflix. You could do that if that's what you wanted to do today. That would be very, very comfortable for you. But I don't think that would be very effective in pushing your dreams forward, right? And a comfort zone is where your dreams go to die. And if you're here on this planet because you believe that God put you here to make a difference for other people, to live life as the best version of yourself, then you owe it to yourself to not want to live a comfortable life. Yeah. You owe it to yourself to sharpen yourself. And you're only going to sharpen yourself if you put yourself out there at the leading and bleeding edge. And that's how you're going to be able to do that. If you don't, if you go, I've done enough. Like, oh my God, what a way to think.
That sounds hard. That sounds squeamish or makes me squeamish. Yeah.
Yeah. Be somebody who looks for what's difficult. Be somebody who looks for what's difficult and find a way to overcome that challenge and difficulty. Because every time you do that, you're going to have more confidence in yourself. Give your word and keep it. Give your word and keep it. Don't be one of these modern 21st century people whose word is so flaky that nobody trusts it and you don't trust yourself. The fastest way to earn your own trust is to give your word and keep it. And the only way you're going to make your dreams come true is if you trust yourself. And you won't trust yourself if your word sucks.
It's true. That's true. I imagine, do you get clients sort of showing up at your door, so to speak, who kind of fit that profile? Man, I just don't trust that.
That's 99% of people, brother.
That's true.
Are you kidding me?
So is that a yes?
People are late for things. People are no-shows for things. I mean, heck, I've been late and I've been a no-show myself. I'm not going to pretend I'm perfect.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where you can make a difference for your fellow man and woman if this is what you do. If you're somebody that really understands this is an area in your life that you got to give your word and keep it.
Yeah. Because it's starting with yourself. It's so true. So let's kind of follow this thread. All right. You've in your own mind, hypothetical person X, hypothetical practice owner X. All right. I want to be a thought leader. I get this whole, I know something, but maybe that makes me an expert, but it's not a thought leader yet. I've looked myself in the mirror, really going to tackle this. And you've actually figured out something. Well, nobody knows about it yet. Just because you've figured it out doesn't mean anybody else knows about it yet. You have to now go convince other people, the very people you would like to look at you as a thought leader, and convince them, hey, I'm a thought leader in topic X. There's some selling, right? Now all the cringiness that you overcame, you've got to get others to overcome also. So, and this isn't, the question is, how do you sell without coming across as salesy? This isn't the only area where practice owners need to do some of this, need to convince others, therefore sell. But man, it makes them cringe. And I get it. I've got one client where this client wants me to go to referral sources on this client's behalf and introduce her practice and, kind of do that work for her. And I keep saying, they don't want to meet me. They want to meet you. And, besides, you don't want to pay me to sit in their office for an hour and then have to come back tomorrow. They want to meet you. You're the ones who are going to treat their patients. Such a barrier, such a resistance that I'm chipping away at. But how do you sell without coming across as salesy? Is really the question.
That's a great question. I can totally understand people's reluctance to embrace sales because there's been folks in the industry that have given it a bad name. They're, the old Fuller Brush salesman.
Oh yeah.
I've got X, I've got Y.
The vacuum cleaner.
It'll slice, it'll
dice. Yeah.
You don't want to buy it. I got something else to sell you. I mean, it didn't matter. All they wanted to do was get the commission. And you'd feel like you'd have to go take a shower after you'd been in that person's presence, right? They were so slimy. So, it makes complete and total and utter sense because that word has been sullied somewhat. But I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My father was a business owner. We were immigrants from the Middle East, and I learned about business, and I look at sales differently. I look at sales as an act of love, an act of deep caring and love, because I only sell if I like you and I care about you. I don't sell to people I don't like. You know what I mean? The type of work that I do involves a personal investment. It's not a transaction when it's one and done. I don't see the person anymore. It involves a personal investment, and it involves, me and the person that I've sold to working together and being in a relationship. So I got to make sure that I really care about this person and want to see them succeed before I take them on. And so I was never bothered by that word.
Okay.
But a lot of people are bothered by that word.
Yeah.
And how I've been successful in helping my clients become effective at selling without coming across as salesy is by rebranding the word sales to service.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be sold. Carl, you don't want to be sold. I don't want to be sold.
Yeah.
But we all want to buy. You love buying, Carl. There are things you love buying. I know, I can tell. You're a man who likes the finer things, right? And you love to buy them. And if somebody can help you make a good buying decision without coming across as salesy,
yeah, there it is.
You are thrilled to get their help. You actually want them to make a commission. And when people start to think about how to rebrand selling into serving, it causes the synapses in their brain to rewire themselves, because then it's not about them. One of the reasons sales feels yucky to this person is because she's thinking about, are they going to like me? Are they going to want to do business with me? Is it going to work? She should stop doing that. You need to rewire her thinking and go, I'm going to be able to help this person. This person needs someone like me. Their patients need me. It would be a dereliction of duty if I didn't step up and assist these folks in dealing with these issues. And the rewiring of her thinking from herself and what people are going to think about her and her reputation to the assistance she can offer to people, to the way she can change people's lives, that would propel her to want to do this. Now, I can't just tell you this and you can't just tell her this and it's going to work. You and I both know that. There's a process required, and there's some coaching and training required to rewire that thinking. But once that rewiring has been done, it's incredible. Folks double, triple, quadruple the size of their practice without any other changes. I mean, no other changes, zero, just coming from service. And when you're in front of people and they can tell that you're coming from making a difference and not about, I wonder how much money I'm going to make from serving this person, from selling to this person, man, they love it. They want it, because people are coming to see you because they got problems. And if I could tell you a story, we had a client who was a naturopathic doctor, and she was successful, but she'd had her own practice, and she was part of someone else's practice, and she was making 6 figures a year, and she had a list of over 10,000 previous clients, and she wanted to grow her practice and be a world-renowned thought leader. So we sat with her, and the first thing we said to her is, you need to bring more people into your practice and you need to make calls. And she was like, well, I don't want to be pushy or salesy. And we said, pushy, salesy? Who said anything about being pushy or salesy? I said, are these people...
See, there it is. It's like this reflex,
Absolutely it is. And then I said, is that really true? I went Byron Katie on her. Is that really true? Are you a pushy person? She goes, oh, no, she was horrified. I'm never pushy. I said, so is it really true that you come across pushy yourself? I want to examine the truth of this versus the emotional hold it has on you. She goes, no, absolutely not. I'm not pushy and salesy. Okay, so we're clear that's not true, right? That you're not pushy or salesy. And I asked her, is it true that you care about your patients? And she says, oh my God, she started to cry. She started telling stories about people whose lives had been transformed. And I said, okay, so it's true that you care about your patients. And I said, is it also true that many of these people that you haven't spoken to in a long time are probably suffering in their health? And she started to cry, and she said, yes, there have been, she gave us 3 or 4 examples. And I said, then,
what are you waiting for?
can you wrap your head around the fact that you not making these calls is a dereliction of your oath, of your duty? And when I hit her in between the eyes, now this did not take 5 minutes. You understand what I'm saying, right? I'm giving you the condensed version of how this happened. It took a few hours over a period of days.
Mhm.
But when that landed for her, I couldn't stop her from making calls. She was so eager to speak to more people. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And look, we did a whole lot of things later, okay?
Mhm.
But it took us about 30 days to really get her to rewire her thinking this way.
Yeah.
Brother, she quadrupled her income
Mhm.
once those 30, quadrupled her income.
Mhm.
She had a whole whack of people that she spoke with who just were like, oh yeah, it's been too long, let's get in. Boom.
Yeah. And the added layer of that is those are patients who've already been seen by her, already ostensibly like and trust her, had a good experience. They're not some strangers who knew patients. They're existing patients. Yeah. So interesting. And you're right? So obviously you're right. But, if you go back to the beginning, step one, what do you want to be a thought leader on? Is it really true? Have you really proven the case? Have you really found a problem to solve that few others have? Well, if you've gotten to that point and you've sort of condensed it down to something that's, digestible and meaningful and tangible, then approaching people who legitimately have that problem. I mean, this is not the vacuum cleaner salesman who shows up saying you need a vacuum cleaner. You know what I mean? It's the opposite of that. And so, but nevertheless, there's the reflex of, I can't do that. That would be salesy. Well, why? Very deep-seated assumptions as to why, and you make really good points. And you're totally messing up the title that I wanted to have for this, because now I want to say the comfort zone is where dreams go to die, but I got to get that in there somehow.
That's good, man.
Because it's awesome. And
for an episode.
it's tell you what, it's such a good title.
Free of charge, brother.
Yeah, thank you. I'll put a little TM on it for you. So a couple of wrap-up questions here. Practice Care, we try to keep the advice more in the bite-sized size of life. But first, is there anything you think I should have asked you about this topic that we're talking about, but just didn't think to ask you?
Yeah, there is actually something.
Okay.
So the question you should have asked me was, how does a practice owner charge appropriately as a thought leader? It is my experience in business, not just with practices, but definitely among practices, but among most people who sell services, is that they undervalue and they undercharge their services. Would you agree with me that that is an issue?
Yes. For where they can. Here in this, there's, for those listening, for the services where you can charge freely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably
that's what we're talking about,
right?
Yeah. So, and there's only two reasons they undercharge.
Okay.
One is they don't believe that what they have is worth it. That's reason number one. And reason number two is they do believe it's worth it, but they don't believe anybody will pay. Those are the only two reasons people undercharge.
Yeah, you're right.
Now, if you don't believe your services are worth it, then, we got to look at either whether that's true. And if it is, there's a way we can upgrade the value of your service, or whether it's a limiting belief on your part. Right. And if it's just a limiting belief on your part, then our job is to rewire your beliefs. It's that simple. Right?
Okay.
And then we rewire your beliefs, and you can charge what it's worth. Secondly, though, if you believe it is worth it, but you don't think people are going to pay, this is because, once again, you're making the very big mistake of putting all the focus on you, and none of the focus on your client. The truth of the matter is that charging appropriately is good for the client.
Because
charging appropriately is good for the client. Why? Because of a theory called expectancy bias. People expect more from what they pay more for. People expect more from what they pay more for. Now, just imagine that I was speaking to you, Carl, and you said to me, Nicky, I want to grow my practice to low seven figures. And let's say you were making, 500,000 a year and you wanted to make 2 million.
Okay.
And I said, Carl, we can help you. Absolutely. Let's do it. Here, boom, boom, boom. Here's how. And it'll take us maximum 3 years. And within 3 years, we'll get you there. And you go, Nicky, I love it. Let's go. How much are you going to charge? And I said, $50.
Yeah,
You
I
could
wouldn't
go,
believe you.
what?
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd go, is this
Yeah.
guy for real?
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect at a $50 program. Now, if I said $50,000, you might go, whoa, that's a lot of money. But instantly your brain would go, yeah, that's what this is worth.
Yeah.
This is worth 50 grand to get me from 500K to 2 million. In fact, it's probably worth more than 50 grand.
Yeah.
Is what you'd say, right?
Yeah.
But it's $50. There's a dissonance between it. When you undercharge, your clients don't expect to get as much. Now, I'm not telling you to overcharge. That's wrong too. You don't want to be a gouger, but you got to charge at a level that is appropriate to the client going, yeah, at this level, I'm paying something. I expect to get something out of it. They show up differently for what they pay a lot of money for. They show up more ready to do their part than if they pay very little. If it works, it doesn't.
Only $50. Yeah.
There you go. Only $50. You pay $50 for something, you're not going to show up with leverage on yourself to do your part to get the result. The most important thing you do for your patients is you want to charge them enough that they are going to take it seriously and they're going to do their part. And obviously it's good for you and you're going to make more money and all that jazz, but you got to understand it's best for the client. That's the right reason to charge at a level that, also works for you. Because if you value yourself properly, the market will value you properly and see you as a thought leader. If you undervalue yourself, the market will not see you as a thought leader because thought leaders charge at a certain way, at a certain level. And they don't charge, they don't lowball their offerings. They don't. Now, does this mean you can't give deals to somebody who's a friend or somebody who's going through some hard times and you want to be a good man or a good woman? No, not at all. You could totally do that. But as a matter of policy, you should charge at a level that has your clients take you seriously and want to show up and do their part to get the victory. And obviously also values you and your expertise and helps you make the money you deserve to make.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that. And then the other wrap-up question I have is, let's say, and I'm sure we've caught somebody's attention who's listening and they say, man, you know what? I'm really more of an expert than a thought leader, but I thought it was I want to get going down this path. I want to cross into the thought leadership world. Are there one or two tangible steps you could tell them to start doing to get going on that as soon as they're done listening?
Go to Amazon, buy this book.
The Thought Leader's Journey by you, Nicky Billou. Right. Okay.
And secondly, honestly, if you want to have a conversation about how to create a blueprint for it, I offer that as what I call a success call.
Okay.
It's like a strategy call. So you just go to my website, eCircleacademy.com/appointment. There's a little form that you need to fill out. It's just a screening form on our part. We want to make sure that the folks that we're talking to and get on our calendar are legitimate and serious about what they're up to. But those are the two steps you can take immediately. And I would recommend that you take those steps immediately because those steps will help you move confidently in the direction of getting out of expertise and into thought leadership and building yourself a wonderful practice. We say that anybody can become a thought leader earning from between $500,000 to $2.5 million a year from wherever they start, including zero, within 3 years, if they follow the prescription and the methodology that we teach to people. Anyway.
Right. Okay. Perfect. And I'm going to put a link to the book as well as your appointment link in our show notes so that anybody who wants to get it can get it very easily. And Nicky, thank you again for carving out some time to come on Practice Care and giving us a lot to think about and some very cool, pithy ways to remember them. Once again, Nicky Billou, we're going to put all of your contact information that you supplied in the show notes, as well as those two links, so that anybody who wants to find you can. A couple of points before we wrap up. If you've had an experience, you want to practice, and you have an experience on the business side of practice that you think others benefit from, or if you're someone like Nicky and I who service private practice owners and you've got some expertise you want to share, we want you to come on Practice Care. In Nicky's show notes for his episode and all episodes, there's a little link. It's just a form, a couple of questions. Tell us what's on your mind. Fill it out so that we can get you on here as soon as possible. And finally, if you haven't done so, please subscribe to Practice Care on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks very much. And until next time.